Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. This is your daily news. So let's just jump right in. Look at headlines. Binance US suspends use of fiat as legal troubles mount. So this is my understanding, and I want to get some confirmation from you all in the community. I think if you have dollars, you're going to have a hard time getting any money in or out of Binance, meaning that you can't deposit US dollar and you can't withdraw US dollar. Also, too, if you look at the headlines here, Binance US suspend dollar transactions after payment parties pause activity. The more details was saying that this pause is also in the UK, I guess, and also in Australia. So please, and this was sort of mentioned to the community, please share which country you're in and if you can get money in or out of Binance. My personal opinion is this is probably the beginning of the end. I would be very, very nervous if I had money on this thing. Because like if you can't, convert your crypto into, fiat currency, be it Australian dollar or UK pound or, US dollar, like basically it's all worthless. Not the dollars, but your crypto. I mean, this is sort of why I would be nervous, especially the way that the other crypto exchanges have gone. Moreover, Robinhood is delisting some tokens, and there's 3 of them. So they were saying it is Solana, Cardano, and Polygon, and that's effective June 27th. I mean, and this is the same kind of thing again. If you can't buy or sell any of these things, plus, if you can't get money in or out, I mean, it just basically makes them worthless, and that's my opinion. I don't like any of this stuff as it is, but I'd love to hear people's opinion if you think that there's any way like a Solano, Cardano, or Polygon can survive. If you ask me what the difference is, I have no idea, nor am I going to look into it. All I know is like the major ones are going to be your Bitcoin or your Ethereum. However, if, say all of the volume of the trading is coming through something like, say, for example, Binance, if it's hard to buy and sell this stuff, it's just essentially going to reduce liquidity. And I just don't think the values will, sustain, let alone something like a Robinhood where they're saying, a Solano, Cardano, and Polygon are also going to be delisted from trading. So that's coming. This is probably the last few weeks of the end of these kind of things, but we'll see. We'll keep track of this stuff. The SEC is interesting too. They don't actually keep talking about keeping track of stuff. I guess they don't actually know where CZ is. This is Changpeng Zhao. Supposedly he's in Dubai, but the basic gist of it is that the SEC will want to say, hey, can we just use his lawyers as a way to serve him / communicate with him. There was a thing that was similar to this, to where if you guys know the FTX scammer YouTubers, one of them was Tom Nash. He was pumping FTX. And I saw this last month. I didn't mention it because I don't want to talk about these people all day, every day. But the basic gist was the FTX in the class action suit against the YouTubers. They served up Tom Nash via Twitter because I guess they don't know his exact location. It may or may not be Georgia. Who knows? But this was something that they did. So it's an interesting move to where when you're dealing with these kind of situations where the person exists, but you don't know exactly where they are and how do you serve said person. So can you just, serve them via their lawyers, or can you just tweet them, which is kind of funny. So in this case, the judge says, you know what, you can just go ahead and tweet them. And, it's interesting because, regarding, so our markets are like that, crypto's under attack, whereas Tesla has been pumping like crazy. So if you bought Tesla beginning of the year, you are smiling, you're happy, you're jumping up and down. I think it's basically doubled your money from the beginning of the year. But how long will this thing keep going? So evidently, this is the longest sort of, streak of green days in a row for Tesla. So 11 days in a row of green. This is the last time I did this thing was in January 2021. So we'll see if it keeps going. I personally think Tesla's in a bubble, but that, that's my opinion on that. I understand if you want to be popular on YouTube, just tell everyone that Elon Musk is a genius and that Tesla is awesome. So the good news for Tesla, and this is kind of an interesting news because I'll say it's a good news, bad news situation. So if you read the headlines here, it says Tesla set for $3 billion boost from 4 GM charger deals. So basically, they're going to allow, both Ford and GM to jump on the Tesla supercharging network. And they're going to share like plug, because there's different ways that you can plug the charger into your car. And then the Tesla one is actually pretty extensive, their network. You can see here it says Tesla charge network is bigger than all the others combined. And you can see it right here. Now, actually, it's kind of funny. If you guys have been following the channel, I was in the USA for the last couple of weeks. I'm in Korea now. But I was driving around a Tesla, running a Tesla for a couple of weeks. And it was pretty fun to drive around. And I'll be perfectly frank. the Tesla is a really fun car to drive. I'm being honest, it's a really fun car to drive. The real issue is the charging situation. As a rental, they're not great at all, because if you don't have a charger at your house, that means you got to be, charging your car offsite all the time, and you got to be looking around for a network thing. And probably the biggest issue that I had with the charging is that the superchargers are on the map, and so when you navigate, where you want to go. So, like for example, we went to the beach. I went with my mom and stopped halfway through, and then you have to wait at the charging place for about 25 minutes, right? So basically you drive for an hour and a half, then you have to charge for like 25 minutes. So it forces you to stop, but it's really, really difficult to just say drive straight for like 3 hours. It's just not a thing. It's unsafe because you don't want to be stuck with essentially no gas or charge, a better way to put it. And the other thing too, which I think is a real problem is, yes, maybe, revenue wise, it seems great that, GM and Ford will jump on your network as a Tesla stock and / Tesla company. But if I were a Tesla car owner, I wouldn't want that. Already, the charging stations are limited. You go to these places and there's like, maybe 5 to 10 chargers there. And at some of the chargers that I had went to, all the charging stations would be full. And yes, people are in and out in 25 minutes, but if you add more, brands that can use the chargers, it just sort of really ruins the milieu, the exclusivity, the, specialness of having a Tesla, because you have this network that's just for you in your car. I don't want everyone using my chargers. You guys understand what I'm saying? I think that's a real thing. So yes, I get it. The Tesla stock bulls will say this is awesome, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm just saying from a practical use point, if I'm a Tesla user, I do not want GM or Ford to be on the network. And so when I see this, that's the first thing that came to my mind. The other thing too that came to my mind is I guess it is a revenue bump, but I just think the overall sort of quality of life for Tesla owners will decrease because of this. But I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. If you agree or disagree with my take, I'm just giving a practical version of that. In terms of practical version, this is JP Morgan. So it's the bond chief, Bob Michel. He was talking about how like this seems, kind of strange that our market's pumping. And it reminds him of 2008. And the basic gist of this is that the way that you read, okay, is recession coming or not? And you read different things. I think I read like a Goldman Sachs one is like recession chance is now 35% or something like that. And you're going to read different things. And the market has been pumping. It's been odd for me, to be perfectly frank, that interest rates remain elevated, yet our markets are like, oh, wow, interest rates up. That's really, really cool. Now, according to this is just a chart, and the basic gist of it is that if you take a look at the last rate hike, right? So it says here in previous rate hike cycles, so the last time that they do a Fed's final rate increase, it's an average of 13 months after that when the recession starts. So, who knows? For example, then that would mean, if indeed the last rate hike is either May of this year or June of this year, then you'd look at like say a year or so later that you have the recession. And then how long would it last? You guys can see this here. It could be anywhere from 2 months, which is really, really short in 2020, all the way up to 16 months. So this is anyone's guess, but I just want to give you a general ballpark rule or just way to think about these things. I think right now the markets are just pumping be crazy. You still see sort of meme stock moves and things of like a Carvana, that kind of thing. That's been the one. It was up like 56% in a day. That was yesterday. And then today I looked, it was like down 20%. So that kind of stuff tells me that the bubble is still there. And then you'll have the AI stuff with like NVIDIA, et cetera. But the Tesla thing is an interesting one because it depends how you want to read it. Some people say, no, Chris, high interest rates doesn't affect Tesla people because they're just awesome and they're going to pay cash for everything and they're not going to borrow any money. But I just find that hard to believe. I think the raised interest rates should slow down everything. But, our economy still seems to be resilient. And so that regard is, what is the Fed going to do is anyone's guess. If you look at what Canada just did, they just raised rates by 25 basis points. And then they were saying in their statement, which we looked at a couple days ago, that they expect governments around the world to still raise rates because, unfortunately, inflation is stubbornly high. And I'm just sharing with you guys as well, on my flight out to, or back to Korea, I should say, I sat next to two people. One was worked for LG. He works in batteries, so that was pretty cool. It was nice to meet you. And also, too, there was someone else who actually worked in a battery company out of Tennessee. I don't remember the name of the company, but he was flying into China to, basically work on sourcing and stuff like that, which we had talked about, which is the major issue with lithium batteries. So I do think this stuff is the future, but how far, along are we? Is this stuff kind of profitable, and who will be the leaders, etc. Is anyone's guess. I just try my best just to share some thoughts with you guys. So, and the thing that was really interesting about this stuff is, as well, is I do think some areas in the current recession is, depending on the field that you're in, like say cybersecurity, say nursing, or say lithium batteries, etc. I think you're in good shape. If you're in the right fields, you're in good shape. But if you're in the wrong fields, the ones that are slowing down, be it your finance or some areas of tech, it's going to be painful. And so, regardless of if we're in official recession or not, if you don't have a job, you're in a recession, right? So definitely take care out there and always have a plan B. It's actually interesting. My wife was talking to a Korean cousin that we had met, or actually I had met when I was in the USA, and he was already saying, even though he feels good about his job, but just have a plan B, because you see that many of the tech companies are indeed laying off. So do be careful out there, and you can see this chart and pause the screen if you like. The other thing too is Trump is being charged 37 counts. This is the classified document thing. Remember, he had a whole bunch of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago home. I don't like to talk about Trump all day, every day, and frankly, I just want him to go away. And this is, I want to make this really clear. Even if someone doesn't like Trump, doesn't mean they automatically love Biden. It's not the case. I don't like either of these people, but I do report this sort of stuff. And it's interesting because if you look at like the actual possible time in prison, it could be quite a bit. Read headlines: Trump tried to hide documents, share secrets, indictment alleges, and evidently he could face anywhere from like conspiracy to obstruct justice, that is 20 years, withholding document or record 20 years, corruptly concealing a document record 20 years, like all these are 20 years, scheme to conceal, that would be 5 years, false statements and realizations 5 years, and willful retention of national defense information 10 years. And my basic understanding of the difference between, say, Trump or Biden or even Pence was involved in any kind of document stuff, or even that Air Force guy, that was like a month or so ago, is that the essentially the archives was saying, hey, give us the stuff back, and Trump's like, no. Whereas if you ask other politicians or people who are involved in this kind of stuff, hey, give us stuff back, and they just give it back right away. So that's basically the main difference, is like they ask them to give it back, and then end up having just to go there and get it. So we'll see what happens with this. Part of the language is always really interesting when you look at the difference in how Fox News covers it versus other outlets. Now he mentioned Fox. It's kind of funny. I just want you guys to pick up on this stuff, because I think it's really interesting, especially to think about how language is used in these kind of stories. So from Fox, they say, Trump lawyers part ways after federal indictment, right? So, Trump is indicted and his lawyers part ways. That's how they word it with Fox News. If you want to jump over to CNBC, they say, Trump lawyers quit classified documents case. So I wanted to mention that because it's funny, like how you would spin something depending on, which outlet you are. I think both of these are true, right? Fox News, they do part ways. But CNBC says they do quit. So, they both can be true, but do be aware. This doesn't seem to bode well for the Trump people, right? If you're Trump and you have your lawyers trying to defend you, and the indictment comes out and like your lawyers quit, I think that means it's not so good. I don't think of anything crazy or biased in that. I just say that I don't think it's so good if your lawyers are like, man, I looked at the case, I don't want any part of this. I'm out. So that's how I read that, but I'm curious to your guys' thoughts on this. So that's been the daily news. Please share your thoughts. And again, I want to get some more details from people in the world on the Binance situation. Are you able to get money on or off that platform? My understanding is dollar, US dollar, Australian dollar, and the UK pound. It's tough to get money on or off if you're in those currencies. And I'd love to hear from other countries around the world if you can access your Binance account. So thanks again for watching, everyone. And this has been your daily news.